Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to everyone who's on this webinar today with us. And I'd like to thank you for joining us. Today's topic is maximising government subsidies and financial support for sustainable investment. And today I'll be speaking with Ben Wright, Gold Associate Member of Cherry Energy Solutions, and also Gavin Baker from SolarEdge, who I'd like to welcome to the LFRA as a new Bronze Associate Member. So welcome to both Ben and Gavin. So firstly to Ben Wright. Ben has had a kind of very well-credentialed corporate life and predominantly in the areas of sales, marketing and commercial operations. So at the core of Ben's belief it's all about delivering commitments and helping those around him. And people are the motivational reason why he goes to work, and he loves seeing others succeed. Although I must say we haven't actually been able to go to work as easily. We've been working from home recently. So Gavin Baker is the National Commercial Sales Director of SolarEdge. And Gavin is focused on scoping and delivering the next generation of renewable energy, including commercial battery energy energy storage systems and electric vehicle charging infrastructure and grid services functions. So at the end of our webinar, we have a really special deal that have been provided to us, and it's exclusive for people that are on this webinar today. So I wanted to also mention to you that the opportunities that are being showcased to you today can be taken up and can be added to your toolbox in addition to the work that we've been doing through the ACCC. So it doesn't preclude you from participating in these opportunities just because you're part of the ACCC LFRA Energy Initiative. So first off, I'd just like to probably ask Ben a question. And firstly, and isn't it wonderful, the doorbell's going at my home. Ben, what subsidies are available for energy efficiency in the market at the moment? And can you talk to us about the eligibility of these subsidies and how business can access them and how much we can expect to save?
Great. Thanks, Philippa, and thanks everyone for taking some time out of your day to be with us. I really appreciate you spending half an hour to hear a little bit more about what's happening in the wonderful world of energy efficiency and renewables. So I'll try and spend a bit of time today on the subsidies that are a little bit less known rather than the ones that we all know about. I mean, certainly starting at the top, there's the federal government stimulus package. I think most of us will be familiar with that now. The key takeaway there is that we have a number of customers who are using this stimulus package to put solar onto their roofs. So for anyone unsure as to whether or not solar is an eligible asset, by all means, please seek your own independent financial advice. But from where we sit, it's certainly within the rules that you can do so. In terms of subsidies for solar, most people know about STCs and LGCs. STCs are strong at the moment. They're making up about 35 to 40% of a solar system up to 99 kilowatts. So that's funding until you get to that 99 kilowatt mark, an off-invoice discount, if you like, from a federal government scheme. LGCs are funding subsidies, if you like, for solar systems that are larger than 99 kilowatts. They've also been around for quite some time, and most people will be familiar with those, but we've seen the price of LGCs really be quite suppressed over the last few years, and that's predominantly because we're hitting our targets around the Paris Agreement that we set. What we have seen, though, is over the last 12 months, we've seen a new option emerge for solar, and that's using a project-based methodology, predominantly in Victoria. That's the main area you can access these subsidies. And the project-based methodology is all about taking a pre-solar system reading of your energy usage and then measuring it again after the solar system has been put into the plan. So we're actually accessing a scheme here that uses the VEEC subsidies. The benefits over the LGC subsidies is that it's actually being received, the money's being received in 15 to 18 months rather than the 10 years it takes for LGCs. But also the rebates that we're seeing are 2 and sometimes 3 times. So it's a little known subsidy. It's available to everyone that puts LGCs onto their roof, the larger solar systems in Victoria, and one absolutely worth following because it's quite lucrative. In terms of LED, Philippa, the state-based schemes, they're continuing, which is VEECs and SDs. VEECs pricing is really strong at the moment. It's 30-odd% higher than the historical averages, which means in Victoria we're seeing rollouts for retail premises. For straightforward retail premises, we're seeing those rollouts have essentially a zero cost activity for the customer to roll out. So the benefit there is not just reducing your energy spend, but we're also actually able to increase lighting levels on the floor, which is such a powerful tool if we can not only save money, but also increase lighting output. So VEECs and SDs prices are really strong at the moment, but what's emerged over the last couple of years is again a national scheme that those states that don't have subsidies available, so the ACT to an extent, Queensland, WA, where you can access a different type of scheme for your lighting rollouts. So that's a scheme that works off the Emissions Reduction Fund, works really well for businesses that have lots of sites around the country that have similar types of lighting. So it doesn't have to be the same, but you might have 4 or 5 key types of lights across those premises. And this actually, again, uses a project-based methodology to apply subsidies across every state. So it's a terrific opportunity for brands that have that national presence, that have already done their lighting in Victoria or New South Wales or even South Australia, but would like to extend that into other states. It's nice to know that there are some rebates available. I mean, we can certainly talk about them in detail. Probably the only other thing around lighting subsidies I'll say is that there are changes on the horizon for definitely the VEECs and potentially the SDs in New South Wales. No need to rush out and have all your lighting done in the next couple of months. But I think if you haven't completed your lighting across those sites, we might see those incentives and rebates in those states have some significant negative changes in kind of 6 to 9 months' time. So we're thinking about getting moving on that now if you haven't already. And then last but not least, in terms of incentives and rebates, is the Ausgrid Power to You campaign. This is an example of a campaign that's starting to see these more and more around the country. And this is where certain areas of the network have a high level of demand for energy. So this Ausgrid area, you can see the suburbs listed there on screen. That's in inner city of Sydney. And where we're seeing that the demand for energy is actually higher than what the current infrastructure can put out. So the Ausgrid, who's the distributor of the area, is essentially saying it's actually cheaper for us to reduce load in the area rather than upgrade all of our equipment at this stage. So for solar systems, for example, in these suburbs, there's a further $250 per kilowatt for solar PV systems. So what does that equate to? That's a 35 to 40% STC discount. And then in these areas, it's $25,000 per 99 kilowatt system, which is a terrific incentive. This is looking now to see rebates subsidising over half the cost of these systems. ROIs are coming down well under 3 years, and 99 kilowatt solar systems in these areas kind of coming in at $50,000, $60,000. So it's unbelievable the support that's out there at the moment. It's all about knowing where to find those incentives and rebates, which we're happy to help with at any time that people need.
That's fantastic. So what type of finance is available to businesses looking to invest in energy efficiency, Ben?
Yeah, there's probably less movement happening in funding at the moment, but there certainly are a couple of types of funding that aren't always well known to our customers that we deal with. The first one are the environmental upgrade agreements, the EUAs or the EUFs now in Victoria, and they've changed their name so many times I struggle to keep up, and the BUFs in New South Wales. And a lot of these are often mandated by Sustainable Australia Fund, who are the leading provider of this type of funding. But the benefit of this agreement is it brings landlords and tenants together. We've always seen there's been a delta between landlords and tenants. Landlords are focused on embedded networks and maximising revenue there, or finding additional ways for revenue streams on their rooftops, whereas tenants are looking to own the systems and use that roof space for their own benefits. The beauty of an environmental upgrade agreement, and it does sound strange at first, but for landlords, they're actually able to depreciate the asset over its lifetime. And then for tenants, they're actually able to run the expense of the cost of the finance. So they're paying the finance back through council rates, and they're able to put that through their P&L. So we have landlords taking a benefit off their balance sheet, and tenants taking a benefit through their P&L. It definitely doesn't make sense the first time you hear it, but we've done scores of EUAs, millions and millions of dollars of EUAs around in particular Victoria, and they're a terrific way to try and bring landlords and tenants together, or owner operators. It's a really nice, strong type of funding. In terms of solar leasing, it's typically always been operating leases, but what we've seen over the last 6 months since the instant asset write-off schemes have come in is that chattel mortgages have become more prevalent. A couple of reasons. One is obviously the system is easy to put on the balance sheet, or it needs to be put on the balance sheet, the repayments, and it can be depreciated, but also the GST from chattel mortgages is often received back as a positive cash flow through the BAS of each business. And again, I'll say this certainly isn't financial advice. Get your own advice, but we're seeing chattel mortgages are becoming more and more prevalent from a leasing point of view. And power purchase agreements have had a mini revival, if you like. So there's the two types of power purchase agreements, Phil. There's the synthetic agreement, which someone like your big players like the Coles have looked at, where they're actually buying clean energy from a solar system that's set up in regional New South Wales. It's off-site, but they're taking the energy that's produced. It's an off-take agreement from that type of system. But there's also power purchase agreements that are on the rooftops of these premises. For me, probably the thing I'd say about power purchase agreements is they're for businesses who want very low risk levels, because they actually don't need to take ownership of the systems. But at the same time, they're comparatively more expensive than an environmental upgrade agreement or a chattel mortgage that are running at 3%, 4%, and 5%. Power purchase agreements tend to have a higher rate of electricity than if you amortise out against normal financing. But they're great for businesses that don't want to take on risk, and they're great for businesses that have a high energy rate. So the lower that energy rate comes, the more you'll probably lend towards a leasing or an EUA type of agreement. And then the last one that I'm really excited about actually is on billing. It's been very difficult to see on billing offers come to the market. They've been few and far between over the last few years for a whole number of reasons. But and I'll put a full disclaimer here: our owners are Energy Australia, so they're not the only one that does on bill, but there certainly aren't many. But we're looking to roll out an on bill funding mechanism for our customers, certainly sooner rather than later. And the benefit of this type of funding is that it's going to allow a current spend of $100,000 a month, for example, on energy, to still be paid on that bill, but instead it's a $70,000 energy bill and a $20,000 a month repayment for your asset bill. So we think it'll make the movement of solar initiatives in particular, and of course LED initiatives, we think it'll make that movement through the approval processes in businesses a lot easier, because it's simply diverting spend rather than needing to take on an additional capital expenditure or operational expenditure. So stay tuned for that. That won't be far away, but I think that'll be a terrific opportunity in finance sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so can you talk to us a little bit about de-risking returns and what should we be looking for in energy efficiency investments and companies to ensure that we get the best return on investment?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When I first came into the industry about 8 years ago, it had a reputation, and the reputation was for fast money and companies exiting the industry very quickly. It's definitely changed now, although it still has issues with people not necessarily following the most ethical of practices. And for me, as the industry moves more to be a high volume, low margin industry, which it certainly is doing, there's a couple of ways that it's quite easy for people to try and work through the smoke screens, if you like, of reputable retailers. First one's accreditation, and that first logo there is the most important. Those that are CEC approved retailers, there aren't that many. It's not an easy piece of recognition to receive. It's not just about paying money. You have to meet a number of standards and requirements for the CEC, and in particular around your terms and conditions of trade. So those retailers that have that tick probably cuts out half of the market straight away. Second one's around safety. And wow, has the safety environment changed in the last 6 months? It's been unlike anything I've seen in our time in the industry, but the focus from the regulators, and I'm quite grateful that this focus has certainly happened, because we all want to go to work safely and come home safely. But now it's moved to live edge protection, so that's 2 metres away from any live edge, be the edge of the building or skylights. It's moving heavily now into how you access and how you egress on and off the buildings. So previously it was okay. Previously it was not challenged to take panels or equipment on and off the roof and then enter and exit the roof during the installation of your systems. But the work cover bodies are really looking hard now at how you access the rooftops. So it's actually not okay to be jumping up and down from scissor lifts, for example, and temporary scaffolding needs to be placed up instead. So as these regulators become more and more involved, thankfully, into how the industry's run, the partners that I would recommend you're working with are those that have the accreditations, the ISO type or equivalent accreditations, but also can show an evidenced or a systems-based process that they have for managing safety on site. So my recommendation is ask the retailers to guide you through how they're approaching safety, because at the end of the day, if there's an accident on site, it's not just the solar retailers who are liable. It's the owners or the tenants of the property that are fully liable if there's any accident. So absolutely, please have a big focus on safety and make sure the company you're dealing with is guiding you through that process. And then last but not least is backing. And look, yes, we are backed by Energy Australia. We're not the only ones with good, strong backing. But as the industry gets bigger and bigger and volumes rise, we're seeing this industry has exponential growth. It's had it every year for about 5 years now. The size of balance sheet becomes important to be able to honour these warranties. And unfortunately, it is the electrical industry, so things sometimes go wrong. So being able to honour those warranties and have systems in place that allow you to actually systemically determine if there's something that has gone wrong is really, really important. So if you can be finding companies that you know have a strong balance sheet or strong private ownership, I think that would, in the long run, really benefit your investment into renewables. But something that's quite cool that I'd like to show today, sorry Philippa, is one more thing. It's called Bertie. It's something we've just launched. So forgive me, there's a couple of pixelated images in here, but Bertie's all about de-risking any damage to your rooftop. So it takes away the human element of inspecting rooftops and it uses drone footage to fly over the top. And what we do is we actually take a digital fingerprint of your site pre-solar, run the SolarWorks, and then have a digital footprint afterwards. And it can identify areas of roof damage or particular equipment left up on site. And then it also gives a lovely digital footprint of your roof for many years to come. So I think Michelle's going to show us a video and I'll be quiet for a minute.
Cherry Energy Solutions have developed a class-leading rooftop software program who we like to call Buddy. Prior to commencing any works, we will launch Buddy at your site so she can take high-resolution imagery and videography of the rooftop. Using line-of-sight vision combined with predictive artificial intelligence, this first step will identify any pre-existing hazards or potential weak spots on your rooftop. As soon as we are complete with our works, Buddy will make a second aerial flyover to provide evidence that our team has left your site in the same condition as before we started. You will also receive an on-roof walkthrough detailing critical electrical connections, design flow, how the system has been installed, plus key training advice for your wider team. Buddy will take thermal imagery of your panels to ensure your system is performing as it should be, providing advance warning of any potential panel hotspots before your monitoring system may detect them. Your rooftop will have a catalog of baseline imagery for comparison over an extended period of time. The AI capability of Buddy is designed to let you know about issues prior to their occurrence. Thank you for taking a few moments to get to know Buddy.
So this is one of my favourite initiatives I think that we've launched in the last few years, and it's just a terrific way to hold us accountable, but also to give peace of mind to our customers that the installations are being done correctly. So for me, making sure that you can get some really good, strong dilapidation reports pre and post is just so important. There are a few ideas, Philippa. They're certainly not everything, but hopefully that helps.
Yeah. So before we go any further, you can see going across the bottom of the screen the email addresses for both Ben and Gavin. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to put to them, you can message them directly via email. So just take note of those email addresses going across the bottom of your screen. So moving to you, Gavin, are you able to give us some insights into SolarEdge how your product works and what are the key differences that exist between SolarEdge and other inverters?
Yeah, certainly, Philippa. And firstly, thank you for the warm welcome to LFRA. It's great to be a part of the group. It's great to be here, I guess, standing side by side with Cherry Energy as well. I mean, these guys are a business who we've had a good long-term relationship with. They've been installing our systems since 2016, and there's a lot of synergies between our business in terms of quality and bankability as well. So look, I'll run through a few slides just to introduce SolarEdge. You can see CoCam is also on our introductory slide here. I'll give you some insights into who they are and how they fit into the mix with our systems. But potentially, Michelle, we can move to the next slide. So SolarEdge, I guess first and foremost, we are a hardware component supplier into the projects which Cherry Energy and other EPCs will deliver. We provide the inverter system, which converts the power from the panels into the functional power in the facility, the AC power. We also have a key differentiator in our system, which is module level optimization. Our business is headquartered in Tel Aviv, ex-Israeli military intelligence division, started up in 2006. We listed on the NASDAQ in 2015. When we speak about bankability, or when Ben mentioned bankability before, this is a key facet for our business. As you're looking at your business cases and the de-risking of them, you have access to a lot of financial information on our business, acquisition information, all the financial reporting is available to look at, and it's a very, very strong financial track record that we've got. We feature amongst the top of the suppliers on nearly all bankability indexes that you'll come across. Underpinning that has been some strategic acquisitions that we've made over the last few years into UPS, which is uninterruptible power supply, battery energy storage systems, and e-mobility. So the three brands you can see at the bottom, CoCam, Gamatronic, and SMRE, are the three acquisitions that we made. And these three businesses are going to help, I guess, fill in the pillars of our business over the long term. So battery energy storage is an evolving part of the energy mix in terms of PV systems. UPS has a strong position to play for critical loads, and SMRE, who were our EV manufacturer in e-mobility, is probably the most exciting area of I would argue, of the PV business moving forward as e-mobility integrates into PV systems. On the right side of the page here, you can see this site. This is a 6 megawatt job, which is installed last year down in Adelaide using SolarEdge. You can see the rooftop system is fairly comprehensive with most of the available rooftop used as well. But then you can see on the periphery all the car park array that's been built in around the shopping centre site as well. Now, I guess the way you as businesses are going to engage, not just in terms of your energy exposure, but with your customers and their mobility considerations as well, is something that is going to have to be thought about clearly in the years ahead, and will provide a central platform for a lot of that infrastructure. We partner with leading EPCs, and we have a very strong delivery track record with LFRA members. In fact, we have a lot of members of the group that we've done portfolios with, significant portfolios, 100+ sites. So there is a good track record there. And we have a very significant position within the Australian retail sector. Of the top 5 shopping centre owners in the country, we're specified or have been specified with all of them, and we're currently in deployment with 2 of them at the moment on 10 megawatt plus programs. So it's a little bit about SolarEdge, who we are. Michelle, if you might move to the next page, please. And why SolarEdge? The 4 key features of the product, which will effectively help optimize your asset. Ben talks about optimizing the rebate structures and the financial mechanisms. I'll talk to you about how do you optimize the asset on your roof. So the 4 key features are more energy, because we have an optimizer on every panel for our residential systems or every 2 panels for our commercial systems, it means we mitigate against shading impacts and mismatch losses in solar systems. So to put that into some context for you, traditional solar systems are connected in a string. So you'll have, let's call it 20 panels in a string. If one of those panels is shaded, it impacts that entire string. With the SolarEdge system, because our panels are not electrically connected, if one panel is shaded in our string of panels, it's only that panel that gets any shading impacts, so the yields are higher. The operations and maintenance costs over the long term is another important factor for LFRA members. You know, especially when your O&M contracts with your EPC partners come to an end. You know, we have a 25-year relationship with our end customers, and we enable your facilities management or whoever is going to uphold maintenance on your sites. We afford them module level visibility on the entire plant on top of the roof. So that allows you to do remote diagnostics from the desktop before you have to engage a contractor to come to site and make any rectification works if necessary. Safety is the third and I would argue most significant benefit. As Ben alluded to, safety is an increasing consideration in the market here, and I've got a slide on that, so I'll park that one for the moment, but critically important. And then flexible design is the final benefit of SolarEdge. So when considering a lot of the rooftops that we work on have plant and equipment, air conditioning units, extraction vents, so on installed there. You know, with a SolarEdge system, given you're not going to be impacted as significantly by shading impacts, you can install more panels on the roof and effectively get a stronger ROI on your investment. So next slide, please, Michelle. So this is just a quick topology of our systems. You can see in the middle there, we've got the, let's call it a bulky goods site or a manufacturing facility. Our inverter is towards the middle and bottom of the screen. That's our format of inverter. And on the left-hand side, you can see the power optimizer. What we've effectively done is we've taken the maximum power point tracking system out of the inverter. So the traditional string inverters will have the maximum power point tracking inside them. We've taken that function out of the inverter and put it on the roof under every panel. Okay, so that is basically, you know, gives you a deconstructed inverter on the wall, which has a significantly lower build cost for us. So 70% of our solution cost is on the roof in the form of the optimizers, and they come with a 25-year warranty to match the module warranties. The inverters come standard with a 12-year warranty, which is best in class, and it's not expensive to increase the inverter warranty to 20 years because it's only 30% of the solution cost. So whereas the string inverters will have a 5 cent per watt, 5 to 6 cent per watt cost to build the warranty extension to 20 years, ours is only a couple of cents per watt. So when you're doing your discounted cash flows and you're looking at your asset lifecycle costs, there's a huge advantage for SolarEdge in building that warranty out to 20 years rather than either allowing for a new inverter at 10 years or 15 years or having that input cost in your cash flow model at 12 years for an additional warranty extension with the string inverter. The commercial storage product, I can talk to a little bit more on that in a moment, but everything in our system is managed from our monitoring platform. So you get module level visibility. You can control and do all your troubleshooting from that platform. We have a particularly significant team of engineers in Australia. I think we're up to 12 engineers locally who work in and around our service team, who can assist with troubleshooting through monitoring platform. Let's move to the next slide, please, Michelle. So coming back to safety, this needs to be considered, I think, of its own accord. I would argue, while Ben suggests that safety is becoming more stringent, and perhaps it is on site, the electrical standards in Australia are not overly stringent. And when we compare the standards in Australia versus other standards that we see in the United States and markets through Europe, they're really quite lax. A good example of that is rooftop isolators. This is mandated and regulated in Australia. You have to have rooftop isolators on a roof. That is acknowledged as being, the single biggest point of failure and risk for fire in a solar system. So we meet all the Australian standards for safety, but more importantly, we meet the highest global level of safety, which is the NEC code, the North American code, you can see there. And what we have is module level rapid shutdown and arc fault protection. So these functions, which are identified by that safe DC sign you can see there, basically when a system is de-energized, the AC is turned off or it is in fault condition, so there's an issue with the string on the roof, our system de-energizes automatically to 1 volt DC per optimizer. So to put that into context, if you've got a string of 20 panels, that whole string will de-energize to 20 volts. Now, that's touch safe. A 3-year-old kid could come and touch that and they wouldn't know about it. But what it means for you guys, for the LFRA, member base, is that you're de-risking not only that asset build process, but you're also de-risking the ongoing asset management of the PV on the roof. So if you have contract coming onto the roof, if you have first responders in emergency situations, firefighters, you now have an asset on the roof that you can de-energize and access the roof safely. So it's a considerable feature. It's native to our product. All our residential and commercial inverters have safe DC enabled, and we've seen it becoming more prevalent in global markets. FM Global, if any of the members here consult through them in your design development, in de-risking your design, you will start to see, we will now see module level power electronics, which is what SolarEdge does, specified in their safety documentation. So for any insurance, any sites, really, any commercial sites where FM Global are insurers, and there's a significant amount, they now require module level power electronics. Might go to the next slide, please, Michelle. So the final piece here is our commercial industrial storage product and the acquisition of Coconum. I wanted to signal this particularly because we see a very strong business case emerging for C&I storage in commercial market moving forward. We're bringing a product to market next year, both across commercial and residential. And this is based on the acquisition of Coconum. So Coconum was the 5th largest lithium-ion battery manufacturer in the world. We bought them a couple of years ago. They're responsible for a lot of the high-density battery product globally. They supply a lot to defense infrastructure, aerospace markets. That flight that went around the world, powered only by solar, had Coconum batteries installed in it. And they're currently a utility energy product in the Australian market. So we bought the business and we're in the process of reconfiguring and creating our own commercial battery system, which will be retrofittable to any SolarEdge inverter that gets installed. So if you were to go and install a 100 kilowatt pilot site with Cherry Energy now, you could come back in 12 months or 24 months and you can retrofit up to 3 racks of these SolarEdge batteries onto that system. I think when we look at the market, we look at the cost curves and timing for product. I think it's a pretty nice fit. It's a marginal business case at the moment. The technology set isn't quite robust enough to warrant commercial storage at scale, but that's changing. And I think the value stacks that are coming through in terms of not just peak shaving and maximum self-consumption of your solar energy, but the ancillary service as well, the voltage and frequency support, participation in FCAS markets. All these stacks are going to be accessible from our commercial battery product. Thinking about portfolios as well, a couple of your members of LFRA have gone to that portfolio level with us, where they also have an opportunity to look at a grid services play. So we've got a fairly maturing grid services platform now. We have quite a few virtual power plants deployed in field in the residential sector, and we see this as being a significant play for us in the commercial sector once this battery comes available. So being able to aggregate and orchestrate sites and play in these different markets is going to enable value stacks and higher returns on your solar investment. So that's a bit of a snapshot about SolarEdge, our product set. It's a very brief introduction. As I said, we've got a big team of engineers here in Australia, based down in Melbourne. We engage regularly either through EPC partners, but also direct in terms of assisting with scoping and qualifying products and capabilities for programs. So if you need an application engineer to talk through your engineering department or consultants, we're happy to do that. Please don't hesitate to reach out on the contact details. Thank you, Philippa, and I'll hand it over.
Thanks very much, Gavin. It's really interesting. So just going back to you, Ben, would you be able to tell us a little bit about the exclusive offer that you've put together for the attendees on this webinar today?
Yeah, sure, no problems. And thanks, Kevin. It's we love partnering with SolarEdge as well. We've had some terrific systems installed over the years. But when I saw this discount that you're offering, I had a chuckle, because I think that's more than we get from SolarEdge. So it's so Philippa, you've managed to negotiate a really good deal here for our LFRA members. But it's a 10% discount off the component price for any SolarEdge system, which is in our industry a very heavy discount. So thank you, Gavin, for agreeing to partner with us on this. And then from our end, for those businesses really, or those retailers really looking to make sure you're protecting your rooftop, whether you're a landlord or a tenant, it's equally important. We're offering Bertie AI for free on the first 99 kilowatt system. So that's normally about $5,000 it costs to roll that out, but we'll do that at no charge. We just think it's so important to have that started with the first system rollout. So both of those offers, are only available through the LFRA. You'll need to, if you're speaking with any of our team or Gavin or myself, you'll just need to particularly reference that it's come through the LFRA, because it's not something we have out in the market very often. But just a small thank you for everyone who's been on today and taken some time out of your day. So thank you again. Certainly appreciate it.
So really appreciate your presentations today, both Ben and Gavin. I think people will take a lot away from that. And up on the screen there, you've got the phone number and email addresses for both Ben and Gavin. So if we could give you a virtual clap. So thanks very much. Really appreciate it. This webinar will be available online. So members will be able to gain repeat access to the presentations. And it's a bit of a wrap up from myself and the team from the LFRA. But before I do that, just to mention to you that later on today, there'll be advice coming out to you about the next webinar that we'll be holding, and it'll be on the 9th of November, and it will be with Paul Bloxham, the Chief Economist of HSBC Bank. So Paul has been a regular presenter at LFRA forums, and we're delighted that he's agreed to come and share his knowledge with you. So there you go. So everybody, thank you very much, and nice to be able to reach out to you once again. Thank you. Bye.